Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio, presented by Brotherwell Brewing.
It's Gronkowski back again.
Here's Paul Catalina, Steve May, and Grayson Grundhaver.
Welcome into the Fantasy Football Show here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube page. Paul Catalina alongside Steve May and Grayson Grundhaver in the Austin Bureau. We are, of course, brought to you by Brotherwell Brewing right here at East Bridge Street in Waco. And fantastic beer. And this is fresh from, I'm just going to say it, fresh from the beer teat. I just went down and got a growler of the Fest beer. So, Steve, why don't we just start off every show as we start off every show? Would you like to do the honors, or do you want me to?
As long as you don't say the word teat. The rest of the
I won't.
show.
I won't again. But it's fresh from the tap, just literally 5 minutes ago, went and got it. All right, so I'm going to have to stand up here. This may not be great for you two, but here's what we're going to do.
I can reach my glass.
All right. Well, since you mocked my short arms, you're not getting your beer first. So
that's a nice mug.
Yes.
Be ashamed if it came home with me.
I got it.
Is that the seasonal right there?
Yeah, that's the Fest beer that I poured way too fast.
Paul has never poured a beer, apparently.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I'll show you how to do it here.
Yeah.
For the kids at home, this is how you pour a beer.
I can honestly say I've never poured one from a growler before. I've never had I've always just drink it from the container.
Oh, that's a perfect pour.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it right there. That's the Fest beer that I just ruined over here. But you can get that for a limited time now. But they always have seasonal beers at Brotherwell. So this is the Oktoberfest one right now.
Yep.
And, guys, Fantasy Football Week, that was kind of wild in that we had a last-minute injury with Dalvin Cook, and Madison goes in, scores a bunch of points. The 49ers-Packers game was wild for fantasy points, especially daily fantasy points, in that Las Vegas win in overtime. So lots of crazy things going on. Steve, we'll start with you. What was your biggest takeaway from this past fantasy weekend?
I've been playing fantasy football for close to 25 years, and I'm pretty sure every year about this time I say, man, this is a really crazy year. You know, because it just seems like injuries catch you. So, you know, McCaffrey goes out. We're not sure about him this week. So you got Hubbard, who could be a good play this week. You know, Cowboys look good. Zeke got in the end zone twice, which was really, really nice. That helped me win a couple leagues. And then, you know, you got some of the players that were drafted really high. You know, Tyreek Hill really hasn't gone off yet for the Chiefs. Josh Allen finally went off with Buffalo this last week. So it's just been an odd year. But for me, like I said last week, the fact that I had Zeke on 5 of my teams and he wasn't doing anything, for him to get 2 touchdowns was huge.
Yeah, Grayson, your week, how was it?
Yeah, it was a good week, I would say, except for the fact that on my, what I would call the league that I care the most about, I have Christian McCaffrey in that league. And I did not spend $67 fab dollars on Chuba Hubbard this morning just because I think it's going to be a 2-week thing. Everything I'm hearing is that it was below a grade 1 hamstring pull anyway. So I don't see him being out very long. They didn't put him on IR either. So I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. You know, a guy we talked about last week, guys, A.J. Brown, injured, probably not going to play this week. Yep. His season just becomes more and more disappointing for teams that drafted him highly. You know, I think, Steve, you're kind of on the right track. You mentioned Zeke as, you know, a guy, you know, who had kind of disappointed until last week. There's a lot of guys who I think we're kind of anticipating a bounce back, and we just don't know when it's going to happen, whether it's Jonathan Taylor or if it's even Calvin Ridley's been pretty disappointing. I think people have been disappointed in Stephon Diggs to a certain extent. He hasn't connected on the deep balls. And then even to a lesser extent, probably DeAndre Hopkins, who his target share seems a little bit up in the air right now, especially with him being a little bit banged up.
Yeah, and Hopkins is banged up. We'll have to see if he plays this week. Another one that stood out this last week, Naji Harris. I think he had 19 targets in the passing game, which was huge. And
you know why that is?
Because Roethlisberger can't throw it past 5 yards.
He can't. He's done.
So as long as Roethlisberger is playing and he's in the shape that he is, Naji Harris should be a great play moving forward.
What would you think if you were a Steelers fan? I was curious. I asked a Steelers fan friend of mine, and the answer was, you already know the answer to this question. But if you were a Steelers fan and Ben Roethlisberger held the team hostage at first about his money and then negotiates out to come back and then comes and plays like this, I'd be pretty miffed. I know he's a legend there, but it affected their draft strategy. It affected everything, the way that they move forward at quarterback. And here Ben Roethlisberger is clearly not what he was and done probably a year ago and playing 1 year longer than he should.
Yeah, I think he's done. They haven't prepared for his successor yet. Rudolph is still on the roster.
Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, so neither one of those guys. Being a proud Steeler hater, I love this, that they're struggling. But from a fantasy perspective, it hurts Claypool, it hurts Juju, Deontay Johnson. So, like right now, the only Steeler I would feel comfortable playing is Harris.
Yeah. Grayson, your thoughts on the Steelers and the state of their fantasy players because of Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah, I think another part about this that we have to remember is Deontay Johnson has been injured. Juju went out early in the game. So, I mean, the weapons were drying up as is. And then Naji Harris was basically the only guy that Big Ben could throw the ball to. That rollout that Big Ben had, I don't know if y'all saw the video of it on Twitter. But my goodness, I have never seen a man fall so hard on his face. People trip sometimes, but this guy just straight face mask into the turf with no one around him. So I don't know what's going on there. His age is catching up to him. I think the surgery that he had last year that everyone said impacted him last year, well, it looks like it's impacting him again. So really unfortunate, definitely downgrading all of their weapons. The hope is that you seriously just have to hope for targets at this point. That's just kind of what you're aiming for, which means Deontay should be okay, Najee should be okay, and then you're going to be splitting work with Claypool and Juju each week, I think.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk about the Cowboys a little bit. And Dak Prescott, outside of the first week, hasn't put up killer numbers, but still, a must-play guy. Zeke Elliott's got a couple touchdowns. He got 95 yards this week, so he's not, if you have like 100-yard bonuses, he's not gotten to that yet. Tony Pollard's an interesting play if you have to run in a deeper league. What do you think about the Cowboys and their offensive players right now? Dalton Schultz, still, you look at projections and people still don't think he's going to catch passes, but every week he has.
Yeah, and I think Kellen Moore has really developed into a really good offensive coordinator. And I think week to week, he's going to really – it's a cliche, but you take what the defense gives you. So I think every week it's going to be somebody different. So this last week, the tight ends were open, and Schultz took advantage of that. I think CD only had, 3 catches?
Yeah.
Got right down there on the goal line on that one, but – so I think the Cowboys are going to be hard to predict. I think they're going to put up, from a team standpoint, a lot of points, a lot of numbers, but it could just be really divided up from week to week.
It's almost, Grayson, as if Zeke Elliott is – of course, everybody's kind of an RB2 now, except for a couple people, but he's kind of maybe in that category a little bit?
Yeah, but I think, yes, I do agree with that. I think he's an RB2 right now. I think that Tony Pollard is slowly creeping his way up to being a more valuable target. But I think the biggest thing that we kind of found out this weekend, and I think it's been a developing thing, and obviously if you just watched the first game of the year against the Buccaneers, you'd say, oh, the Cowboys defense is terrible again. I don't think that's the case. I actually think we're seeing a defense that's actually pretty good, which is probably going to mean not as great things for Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. I don't expect them to be playing from behind quite as much as they did a year ago. And therefore, I think what they showed us against the Eagles is they're very willing to, when they're in a positive game script, to hand the ball off to Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. So, yeah, I agree with Steve. I think game script is going to be huge, which is going to make these guys a little bit more variant than I think. You're thinking, oh, maybe Dak will get back on that 6,000-yard passing pace. Well, I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they're going to be much more balanced than anticipated.
No, they have a very adaptive offense. Kellen Moore is not doing the Jason Garrett thing. Is like, these are the 4 things our offense does. These are our principles, and we will not shake from them. This is what we do. This is who we are, and we're not changing. I don't care what the other guys do. I am not changing. And that's how they were. And then Kellen Moore has been like, well, no, that's okay. We're not going to run the ball on Tampa. He just knew that. They're not going to run the ball on Tampa. So we'll try it. We'll go out there to keep them honest, but that's essentially what the running game is, to just try to keep the defense honest. And the rest of it is Dak's going to throw a bunch of passes,
right?
Which you're not going to win most games if he's going to throw 58 passes, but they almost did. Then the next 2 games were, okay, you're going to play us back and you don't want Dak to beat you? All right, that's fine. Go ahead and run Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard and see that. I think this week is going to be interesting as a Panthers defense. It's way better against the run than the last 2 they played. Phil Snow's got that thing cracking there right now. They've got a pretty good young defensive front. Defensive backs, though, in question. I expect to see a little bit more in the passing game from the Cowboys this week because J.C. Horn is out. They just traded for C.J. Henderson, so while he'll probably play, I wouldn't expect him to know Phil Snow's defense, which, Grayson, as you and I know, takes a year to learn. That was the thing, right? Yeah. It takes a year to learn.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I actually think while I love the Panthers defense right now, I don't think Dallas is going to have a whole lot of problems. I think they'll be slowed a little bit, but I think as a fantasy community, we're all kind of overreacting to what the Panthers have done because they've played the Jets, the Saints, and the Texans. And while I do think they're an improved defense, don't get me wrong, they're a very improved team. I think Dallas is by far the best offense they've faced. And I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the run. And I see the problem here is I think they'll be in a positive game script, which means I think Zeke and Tony Pollard could have a big game, which again limits the touches for Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, kind of the whole offense as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the next segment, we'll get to Stardom, Situm, and then, of course, we'll do our daily fantasy. Guys, we won $4.
Yes.
In our showdown last week, $4. One of which will roll into this week, and then, Grayson's already given me permission to let his $1 stay in the kitty. Steve,
I haven't decided yet.
You want your $1? So, granted, I put up the money each week, so
that's right.
Really,
Yeah, until we make like 1,000 here in the next week or 2, then maybe we'll divvy it out a little bit.
Yeah. If we ever hit that 125,000, you guys may not see me for a little bit.
Well, we'll have to send our goons after you.
Yeah, I'm sick. I got the COVID of the flu of the Ebola of the hepatitis. That's what I got. You don't want to be around me. That's what happened. All right. When we come back, Stardom, Situm. This is the Fantasy Football Show on 365 Sports, brought to you by Brotherwell Brewing. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show here on 365 Sports, Sick and 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Steve May, and Grayson Grundhafer. Guys, rapid fire. I don't even have to do rapid fire. We got plenty of time. Start 'em, sit 'em. Let's start with you, Steve.
Quarterbacks first?
Yes.
All right. If we're going into a deep dive, and again, every week, if you got the top guys, you're going to be playing them. I actually like Taylor Heineke with Washington this week. They're playing Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is not that great. I also like Derek Carr. The Raiders are undefeated. They've pulled a couple out of their butt, to win them. But
he's playing well, though, guys. He's really playing well.
Yep. So I like those two. Couple I don't like. Jalen Hurts was really high on most draft boards going into the season. Very talented. They're playing Kansas City, so that could be a shootout. But I don't know. If I had a better option, I would probably sit Hurts this week just to see what's going on there. And then Tannehill against the Jets, only because I think Derrick Henry is just going to run it down their throats. I don't think Tannehill is going to have much need to throw the ball. So I think as far as fantasy stats for him, I wouldn't be looking for too much there.
All right, Grayson, your quarterbacks.
Wow, Steve and I are in a little bit of a battle this week because he actually had two sits of two guys that I would actually kind of like starting this week. So the first one, Jalen Hurts. I mean, guys, the most garbage time points I think you're ever going to see in fantasy football is what he did against the Cowboys this weekend. But here's the main point of it. He still finished inside the top 10, even though he looked terrible. That's what he does. He's finished top 10 each of the first 3 weeks of the season. Now he's playing a really bad Chiefs defense, who I know the Chiefs are going to be looking for some, to look better this week, but so are the Eagles. And so I actually think Jalen Hurts could end up being a top 5 play this week. I like Ryan Tannehill for the opposite reason that Steve said. And the reason I say that is because I think Derrick Henry's going to run the ball a ton, sure. But I think in the red zone, there's a chance Tannehill throws 4 touchdowns in this game. And if he does that, he's a top 10 play. I think they're going to move the ball with ease. So it's just a matter of who gets the touchdowns, Tannehill or Derrick Henry. I'll take Tannehill this week in that regard. I also like the two you said, Heineke and Derek Carr. Love the matchup with the Raiders and the Chargers. I think both offenses are going to be great in that one. Quarterbacks I don't really like this week. Listen, Kirk Cousins has been amazing. I recommend picking him up anywhere you see him. He's had a great year, but I don't necessarily love the matchup against the Browns this week. I'm just if you have another option, I would pivot. The Browns defense is pretty good. They're going to run the ball, limit possession, so I'd probably stay away from him this week.
All right, Grayson, back to you for the running backs.
Yeah, at the running back position, this is the week of redemption for me at the running back spot. So I have 3 names, and these are all guys who I think have disappointed up to this point in the season, and I think you can count on them this week. Antonio Gibson versus Atlanta is the first one. I think he's going to have a monster week. He has been very inconsistent, but I think he's going to give you a really nice start this week. Jonathan Taylor versus the Dolphins. Peyton Barber ran for 111 yards and a touchdown last week against the Dolphins. I'm sorry, Peyton Barber is not Jonathan Taylor, so I expect him to have a good week. If he doesn't, that's a problem for the Colts and for him going forward. And then the last one's David Montgomery versus the Detroit Lions. I think 2 terrible weeks in a row outside the top 20 for David Montgomery, but the Detroit Lions are kind of the cure for that. They're a bottom 5 run defense in the league, and I think he's going to have a great performance in that one. As far as sits, anyone that plays Tampa Bay, do not play them at the running back position, and that's Damian Harris this week. I would try to not play him if you can. And then the other is Tyson Williams, the Baltimore Ravens running back. He had 5 carries last week. I think we just need to get more information in the coming weeks before you start playing him again, just because his role seems inconsistent. And they play at Denver. That's a pretty solid defense.
All right, Steve, running backs.
All righty. I also like David Montgomery. I think Chicago I guess we're still waiting to see who might be quarterback.
We're still going to have to feed him the beans, so yeah.
Yeah, so I do like Montgomery. And actually on the flip side, I kind of like DeAndre Swift. No matter what the game script is there, if they're ahead, which they probably won't be, they're going to be giving it to him. If they're behind, I think Goff's going to be hitting him coming out of the backfield, so I think Swift could be a good play. I like both running backs for Cleveland against Minnesota, Chubb or Hunt. I think both have a good chance to get into the end zone. And then both Buffalo running backs. Buffalo plays Houston. I think they will be up early in this game by halftime, so second half. I think it's going to be a lot of Zach Moss and Singletary. So either one of those could be a nice play. I agree with Damian with the Damian Harris mention that Grayson said. Although James White is out now for the rest of the year, Harrison is kind of their guy. So we'll just have to see. Are they willing to try and run it against Tampa?
I would maybe look at some Ramondre Stevenson for later on down the line if you need someone in a deeper league.
Yep. And then the 49er running back situation. They're playing Seattle. Seattle's defense has not been good this year, but not sure if it's going to be Mitchell or Sermon running the ball there, and who knows what Shanahan will pick. So I would try to avoid that one if possible.
All right, let's go wide receiver. Steve, this is to you.
All right. Kind of the redemption theme that Grayson had. Robert Woods has to have a good game. Please, Lord. He has to have a good game at some point. I have him on almost every team. So they're playing Arizona. The over-under on that one is pretty high, so Vegas is expecting a shootout on that one. So I'm hoping that this is the game that Robert Woods gets right. So I'm going to put him on my playlist. I like Keenan Allen. I know actually both Charger receivers. Mike Williams right now is really the number one there with what he's been doing. But I do like Keenan Allen in this matchup. And Terry McLaurin, again, Washington, I think they should win that game against Atlanta. So I think Heineke and McLaurin could be a good combo.
Curtis Samuel designated to return.
Yes,
so
right. Yep.
That's a big thing for that Washington offense. I think that'll be good for Heineke down the line.
Yep. Receivers I don't like. I'm really not liking any of the Eagle receivers. And again, they're playing Kansas City. Kansas City is they're weaker on run defense. They've given up 8 rushing touchdowns this year, which I think may be most in the NFL. So if Hurts is to have a good game, he's going to do it with his feet, and so will Miles Sanders possibly. So the receivers in Philly I would try to avoid. And then DeAndre Hopkins, just because we don't know what is going to happen there, he could be a last-minute player sit. So if you got another option, you might want to look at that.
Yeah, he is on my team, Steve, in our league.
Yes.
You're well aware of this. It's actually, I believe, my first pick. But, all right, Grayson, your wide receivers.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some really good plays this week from guys you drafted fairly highly. So I think, guys like Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin. I think Jamar Chase is going to have a monster week with T. Higgins out again. The guy's been crazy. First rookie to have 4 receiving touchdowns in his first 3 games. Really, really impressive stuff by him. Mike Williams, I'm going to keep bringing him up. I've drafted him everywhere. Got very lucky with that pick, I would say. But, geez, the targets are there. He's been fantastic. A little bit deeper, kind of if you're looking for some streaming guys, Corey Davis for the Tennessee Titans, or against the Tennessee Titans this week. The Jets are going to have to score some points, and he's been a target machine. So I really like him. And also, I'm kind of curious about Brandon Ayuk this week. I think it's time. His snap count finally went up. They get to play Seattle. It's terrible defense. So Ayuk might be at play here. Now, guys I don't really like. Brandon Cooks. I love Brandon Cooks this year, and he looks matchup proof. But Trendavious White looks like he's probably going to be shadowing Cooks this week, and because of that, I'm just not a huge fan of them on the road at Buffalo. Buffalo has looked really, really good defensively. And then also, I don't really want to start any of the Pittsburgh Steelers at Green Bay. Just really nervous about that whole situation right now, so I would probably stay away from those guys.
All right, that's Stardom Center for this week. Are we doing tight ends? Did we decide we're not going to do tight ends, or do you have good tight end matchups, guys?
Ooh.
Go ahead, Grayson.
I mean, I'll give you. How about a sleeper that I think could have a good game?
Okay.
How about Jared Cook versus the Raiders. Jared Cook has got a touchdown called back each of the last 2 weeks. I think he's due for one. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. So Jared Cook is kind of my streaming option of the week.
Okay, Jared Cook, streaming option of the week. What do you got? Steve, nothing?
Oh, I do like the Cook pick. If I went out on a limb, somebody different than the usual suspects.
Like Kelsey, Kittle, Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson are all, yes, you got to play them.
I think Gesicki might be due for a decent game here.
He's actually had two. I have him on my team. He's actually had two pretty good games in a row. Jacoby Brissett likes him because he can catch the ball.
Right.
And Tua has not figured that out yet, and we'll see. I think Tua needs to figure that out down the line. Gesicki is an excellent receiving tight end. He's not a great blocker, but he's great in the routes, so get him the ball, Jacoby.
Not that you were playing this guy very much. I drafted him in a couple of leagues just as a late-round flyer, but I think Gerald Everett with Seattle is going to be out. I don't know if that was COVID-related or something else, so he's out, so I'm not even sure who Seattle's backup tight end is, but something to keep an eye on.
All right, that's going to do it for this segment. When we come back here on the Fantasy Football Show, we get into DFS. We'll draft our showdown team. We're $4 richer after last week, so the sky's the limit, people. The sky is the limit. We've broken through. Thanks to Brotherwell Brewing for sponsoring the show. There we go.
Very tasty.
Yes, excellent stuff from Brotherwell Brewing. We'll be back in a minute with our daily fantasy recommendations. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Show here on 365 Sports on YouTube, Sick of 365 Radio. Please like and subscribe. And if you don't like and subscribe, I'm going to have Steve come to your house and read an old phone book from 1971. That's what's going to happen. Steve's going to come to your house one by one for people in America who have not subscribed and just go letter M.
A lot of people are saying, what's a phone book?
Exactly. That's what makes it even more boring. That's what he's going to do. And also, Grayson will change all the favorites on your television channels. You won't know where anything is.
Grayson didn't jump into our DraftKings game last week.
Grayson, let me tell you about that last week. So I am in first place and comfortable because the guy in second place, his roster's run out. It's it. I think he had the Raiders defense, so they'd had to get an interception or something, so I was pretty confident. Then out of nowhere, third place guy has Peyton Barber, who had a lot of points, but at the end of the game, the Raiders were just playing for a field goal and handing Peyton Barber the ball. And I'm like, you're killing me here. And I lost by less than a point. Yeah. It was less than a point. And so I wound up in second place. But I'm watching this going, I've got it. Derek Carr's my quarterback. He's throwing the ball over the yard. I was like, this is great. No, Henry Ruggs caught a big pass for me. Actually, I think that's what, like, a long pass from Carter Ruggs put me over the top. I was like, that's it. I've won. And then this overtime kept going and going and going. Oh, I was so mad about that. All right, guys, daily fantasy. What do you got, Grayson, starting off?
Ooh, I guess some of the intriguing options here. If you're trying to save money at the quarterback position, I guess you could take a shot on, maybe a guy like Jimmy G having a good performance against Seattle. That's a pretty favorable matchup for him. I think he could be pretty successful. Maybe even if you want to go a little bit higher than that, but still kind of keeping with that same mindset. I think, Dak Prescott against Carolina, 6,700. Actually, I don't mind that at all. At the running back position, I would probably spend up a little bit this week. I think there's some good matchups to take advantage of. Jonathan Taylor, 6,300. Again, I think he's going to have a pretty good week, a nice bounce back. Dave Montgomery, 5,800. Another good one to keep an eye on at the running back position. Even deeper than that, I think Myles Gaskin versus Indianapolis at 5,300 is a pretty intriguing one as well there. As far as the wide receivers go, again, I kind of mentioned some of the guys that I expect to have big weeks, and they're kind of, they're not inside the top 5 or top 7 guys, but like Terry McLaurin against Atlanta, really like his matchup this week. If you go down even more, I think that a guy like OBJ at 5,800, Odell Beckham Jr. looked really good last week, and he gets to take on Minnesota this week. I would definitely put him in my lineup. I think I'll probably put him in every lineup I do. I'm very intrigued by him, especially with Jarvis Landry out this week. And then, a guy like maybe Michael Pittman Jr. We'll see if Xavier Howard shadows, but usually he doesn't. He usually splits time, but Michael Pittman quietly top 8 in receiving the last 2 weeks, top 3 in targets the last 2 weeks. He's a guy that's really ascending in the NFL right now.
All right, Steve, what do you got?
I actually like Aaron Rodgers this week. They're playing Pittsburgh on one of the sites. He's at 6,800, which it's a little bit higher than some of your bargain QBs, but I liked how he looked this past week, and so I think that's a good matchup. So in most of my lineups, I'm going to have Rodgers in at QB. I'm going to throw in a little Dak as well. Dak is only 6,700, like Grayson said. And then Heineke. Heineke comes in at 5,900. So if I want to go a little bit cheaper on some of my lineups, I'll do that. And Grayson says it too, and I do too. We're saying lineups plural. So I'm guessing, like me, he jumps into a lot of different contests, and so you build multiple lineups for the most part every Sunday. So I try to get a good mix there. So those are my QBs I'll be riding with. Running back, we already mentioned David Montgomery. He's at 5,800 on one of the sites, which is a great bargain. Gibson's at 6,100. I like that one as well. Zach Moss is at 5,300. Singletary is at 4,800. So if you want to spend up, like I'm going to have some lineups where I'm going to spend up on Derrick Henry. He's at 8,800, which is a lot for a running back. But I can put him in there and then throw in like Singletary and have a pretty good mix there. And Singletary should produce based on that matchup. And so that kind of evens it out, and then I can build, around those two as a foundation. And then receivers, just because I still have a lot of faith in him. Robert Woods is 5,300. I'm going to throw him in several lineups. Cole Beasley is at 5,400. Again, I think Buffalo is just going to come out and just blast Houston in that first half, and I think Beasley has a good chance for a touchdown and several targets in that first half. And then we already mentioned Terry McLaurin. He's coming in at 6,900, a little bit high. And then for the Chargers, Williams this week is actually, he may have been last week too, priced a lot more than Keenan Allen. So Williams coming in at 7,200, and then Keenan Allen is only at 6,800. So like I said earlier, I do think Allen's going to have a decent game this week, so you might save a few bucks on him.
All right, guys, let's get to it. Jaguars, Bengals. The game that everyone in America has been talking about. Nonstop. Water coolers, sports bars, bathhouses. I don't know. Whatever people go nowadays.
Where are you hanging out?
I just thought this would seem to be the game you talk about.
Paul shows up at a bathhouse with his 32-ounce growler of beer.
Hey, guys, you want to talk Bengals and Jaguars? Anyway, let's get to it. All right, who should have the first pick this week? Grayson?
I had it last week, so it's Grayson's turn.
Yeah, it says Grayson's turn. All right, Grayson, first pick this week, Bengals, Jaguars. And here's the statement you may never hear again, or you haven't heard in a long time. Got to go heavy on Bengals here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking I'm probably going to put us behind the 8 ball here money-wise. And I feel bad about it, but I don't, because there's only one guy in this game that I think is 100% like you have to play him. And the only problem is I don't know if it's good strategy to put the best player at the captain spot or to put the most risky player at the captain spot, but I'm going to put the best player. So we're going Joe Mixon with our top spot.
All right, that leaves us with 33-5 left. Steve, your pick.
Let's go DJ Chark.
DJ Chark.
So there's our required Jaguar.
Okay. So then I am, man, that's just, if I go Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow, that's going to put us really behind it. Man, this is really hard. This is really, really hard.
Tyler Boyd is only 52.
74. 7,400 for Tyler Boyd. All right, I'm going to go, for now, Tyler Boyd. We have 18. We average 6,300 on the way back at 18.9. So I guess this is my pick.
Yep.
Take him, Paul. Take Chase.
All right, Jamar Chase. There you go. We have $8,700 left, which takes both quarterbacks and James Robinson out of it.
I'll do the Cincinnati defense.
Cincinnati defense. Okay.
Oh, perfect. My guy's still there.
Okay, hold on. Let me find it. Where is it? Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, 5,600. All right, $3,100.
Yep, he's fallen into the end zone this week, boys. Carlos Hyde.
Oh, there you go. All right.
All righty. So, our lineup, Joe Mixon, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, the Bengals defense, and Carlos Hyde with $1,300 to spare. Enter.
Wow.
Those last guys you pick can pay off. I did several showdown lineups for Sunday night's game, and in about 4 lineups, I only had enough left for Greg Ward. Mm-hmm. And he ends up getting
he got that garbage touchdown. Yeah,
he did.
And all 4 of those lineups ended up cashing out for me, so it was nice.
Well, guys, remember a few weeks ago we picked the guy that you need to have in your lineup if you wanted to win real money, and that was Anthony Miller from that Texans game. So we've been close. So
we didn't pick any of the other guys. But we picked the guy that would have put you over the top had you picked the other guys right. So we got one right that week with the Texans on the Thursday night game. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Fantasy Football Show. Again, please like and subscribe, or there'll be a rock in your shoe every day of your life. Just saying, I have magical powers. Thanks to Armstrong Sims for producing. Thanks to Grayson Grunhafer, Steve May. I'm Paul Catalina. Again, like and subscribe. 365 Sports NFL channel. And thanks to Brotherwell Brewing.